If you just got Granblue Fantasy Relink and you're feeling a little overwhelmed, then you're in the right place. I'm gonna take things as if you had no prior knowledge and help you improve your damage, as well as get accommodated to all the systems in Granblue Fantasy Relink. Let's dive in without further delay with the first crucial step, choosing your main character. It's essential to find a character you resonate with early on to prevent you from wasting those valuable crewmate cards on characters you may never end up playing. I have a separate video briefly going over the playstyles of every character to help you decide. However, I highly recommend downloading the demo to get a hands-on feel for the 11 characters we have here available. I thought undisputably I would be a Narmaya main from the videos that I saw of her, but after trying her in the demo, I found out quickly she wasn't for me. Surprisingly, I ended up enjoying Gandalf, a character that I likely would have never explored without the demo experience, just because I wasn't initially a fan of his playstyle and character design. Once you've got your main character selected, it's time to understand and master their specific mechanic. This is where a lot of people will be losing out on damage and rule out a character simply because they didn't read the fine print. Let's stick with Narmaya since we referenced her earlier. Her mechanic revolves around stacking butterflies that increase her damage and switching between her two stances. If you aren't doing this correctly, you're going to be hitting like a wet noodle and wondering why you deal no damage. Mastering this mechanic would mean managing your butterflies, knowing the optimal routes to stack butterflies, and how to effectively spin them to deal maximum damage. This example is for Narmaya, but it can be pretty much applied across the board to the rest of the roster. So you want to make sure you know what your support skill or your character mechanic, whatever you want to call it, you want to know what that does, and then learning what combos synergize with them from the command list, which you can get to by pressing square from here. And so we can see all of these combos grant butterflies when it has the arrow pointing up, but you need to like kind of min-max to figure out which one grants them the fastest to make sure that you're playing her in an optimal way. This will be one guide of many as I take you guys from beginner to expert in Granblue Fantasy Relink. So do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel and help me get this video to 100 likes. I really would appreciate it. And in return, I'm gonna give you more guides to help you out. But now that you've taken care of that, let's get back to the video. Next up, we have weapons and sigils, as well as how to make your character stronger. But before we get into that, I want to give you guys a quick pro tip that's going to save you a lot of time depending on how you play the game. But if we come here and we go to crewmate cards, I've progressed really far in the game. I've almost beat it, but we can see that when I unlock a character with my crewmate card, they're coming at level 35 with some gear on them, as well as if we go over here, we see that all of their skills for the most part are acquired for the units that I can unlock. And so if you use your crewmate cards early on, when you unlock the characters, they're only going to come progressed as far as you are in the story, so that way your characters aren't overpowered. So one thing I recommend doing is maybe getting one of the characters that you like, and just one, and saving the crewmate cards unless you feel like you absolutely have to use them, and then spending them once you beat the game. That was one of my regrets as I progressed through it. I wish that I would have waited to unlock Gandalf till the end, because now I have to worry about filling up his masteries, so that way I can unlock the rest of his skills. Or if I would have just held that crewmate card, I could have unlocked all of his skills at once and been further progressed in the masteries. That's just a quick pro tip. Now let's get into the sigils before we move into the weapons. So the way that the sigils work are, these are going to be the armor of Granblue Fantasy Relink, and attack power, you could have guessed it, grants you attack power. But when we get into the less common sense one and rhetorical ones, they get a little bit more niche. And if you hit R3 on PlayStation, you can see what these effects do. And they also come with a trait level. With the trait level, you're going to be able to level up your sigils. And if I have two equipped of the same trait, so for instance, I have health 3 and health 2 equipped here, we can see that my trait level is currently 9. And so that means I'm going to get 1400 HP. And so the more trait level I have, the further I'm going to be able to progress to gain extra stats from having these sigils equipped. Now, if you go to the blacksmith, from here, you're going to be able to enhance your weapons as well as forge new ones and upgrade your sigils. So since we started with sigils, if I were to upgrade this, I'm just going to be able to increase the trait level of the sigil, which is going to help me progress the trait level in the menu that we just showed you. And then if we come to forge weapon, well, this is common sense. You can make a weapon. Surprise, surprise. And then under upgrade weapons, the ways that we're going to be able to get stronger is we're going to be able to level up our weapon to max level. So right now my level is 50. And then if I were to come and uncap this weapon, I have to get all of the required resources, but this is going to allow me to raise the max level from 50 to 75, as well as make it a 3-star. And this goes all the way up to 6 stars, so you can continuously increase the level of your weapon. And so grinding out these materials, as well as making sure you have the rupees to do it, is going to be essential. And then one last thing with the weapon, you're going to be able to imbue different right stones onto the weapons, which give it an effect similar to the way we have with sigils. So for instance, this vitality one is going to give me critical hit rate, trait level 2, and I'm going to be able to imbue that on the weapon. So not only will I have HP trait level 3, I will also have crit rate level 2, and this is going to contribute to that trait level as well as try to max it out. So this is going to be very crucial when it comes to building your build late game, as well as making sure that you are getting the most out of your character. You're going to want to make sure that everything you have in place is going to be cohesive. And lastly, when it comes to this portion, we're going to back out of here and we're going to go into masteries. This is going to be a very important thing when you first start the game, because you're not going to have any, and you're going to start out with like 1 or 2 skills. So you're going to want to make sure that you are focusing on these masteries, so that way you unlock the different, benefits that they give, as well as you get further down, you're unlocking skills. We have defensive and offensive, and then we also have the collection, which is going to be the mastery of your weapon. But as you unlock other weapons, you're going to be able to progress those further as well. But this kind of shows you my point earlier. Had I waited and used that crewmate card now that I've beaten the game and just, thugged it out with one crewmate card instead of getting both of them, I likely wouldn't have to spend all this time. I've invested a significant bit in Fairy, but when it comes to Gandan Goza, I still have a ways to go. And so I'm going to have to get mastery points so that way I can unlock all of this. See, I don't even have all of his skills yet, where if I get Narmaya next with my crewmate card, I would already have her progress with all of the skills. The next mechanic we're going to dive into is Skybound Arts and how they operate. By engaging in skills and attacking the boss, you'll gradually fill up your Skybound Art gauge. And once it reaches 100%, you'll gain the ability to unleash this powerful attack or link it with your team member's Skybound Art. It's highly advisable to time your Skybound Art when your entire party can chain their arts together, as this results in significant damage at the end of the chain. If you just go solo and just launch your Skybound Art and no one else can follow up, you're going to be missing out on a lot of damage for the party and potentially stopping you from getting that S++ rank. A quick tip for you guys to note is that each Skybound Art performed boosts the meter of team members who haven't performed their Skybound Art yet by 10%. And so that eliminates the need of you needing to wait for everyone's meter to hit 100% before you use it. As you guys probably already know, there is an elemental system within the game, and that elemental system includes weaknesses, which also applies to the damage from your Skybound Arts, as well as that final chain burst attack. The final chain burst's ability and element is determined by whoever initiated the first Skybound Art. And so while this may not be crucial in the early stages of the game, it becomes a significant factor when you're aiming to kind of maximize your damage in in-game bosses and achieve that S++ rank. So I wanted to include that in this video because it's a noteworthy aspect to consider when you're strategically planning out late game raids. The next crucial concept for beginners to grasp is going to be the link system. While facing enemies, an opportunity is going to arise once the stun gauge is full, which is going to be this blue bar here, to execute a link attack by pressing circle when it flashes on the screen. These link attacks contribute to your link percentage, and upon reaching 100%, if everyone performs the next link attack, you'll enter link time. During link time, everything slows down, allowing you to freely unleash certain abilities without the need to worry about building the meter or getting the precise timing right to continue doing the attack. During link time, you're also granted an attack buff, a crit rate buff, you're going to get a skill cooldown cut, and HP regen. So as you guys can see, with all of these buffs combined, this is going to be a large opportunity for you to dish out big damage and maximize this window. Each attack that you do will slightly extend the duration of link time, while the timer ticks down to the end before the boss fight goes back to normal. Characters like Gandan Goza excel in dealing damage during link time, as it enables continuous spam of their strongest ability, and with characters like Zeta, you can continuously loop in the air without having to worry about the timing if you decide to go that route to dish out your damage. I cannot stress this enough though. When you have the ability to perform a link attack, everyone should be doing it. Not only does it build your link percentage, but for most of the cast, it'll also help with your character specific mechanic, whatever that requires. And as I mentioned earlier, the more link times you can get within a match, the more damage you're going to be doing because of all those buffs and being able to spam those abilities. The final crucial mechanic you're going to need to understand in depth is going to be the phases of the mode bar. Knowing this is going to help you learn when it's time to be on the offense and when it's ready to start preparing for defense. The mode bar will fill as the boss takes damage, and once it's full, the boss will enter a phase called overdrive. During overdrive is when you'll see bosses start to use their stronger abilities or like kind of their mechanics that the boss fight revolves around. But some bosses are going to be able to take it a step further and gain a buff called Bloodthirst. While the boss has the Bloodthirst buff, Skybound Arts won't work and the boss is going to take reduced damage. If you're able to find a strategic window to attack the boss during its overdrive phase, that's going to allow you to deplete the meter more rapidly. Once that overdrive meter ends, the phase is concluded and the boss is going to enter a broken state where it falls to the ground. This is going to be the opportune moment to inflict your big damage and capitalize on the boss's vulnerable state. Understanding and leveraging the mode bar phases can be instrumental when it comes to optimizing your approach for both offense and defense in battles, because this, combined with link time, combined with your Skybound Arts, are going to be 3 keys to dish out major damage to these bosses. And so luckily for you, now you have the information to begin mastering them and planning when you're going to go on the offense. As I mentioned earlier, this is part of a multi-guide series designed to elevate your proficiency in Granblue Fantasy Relink from a beginner to an expert level. Here I have a video linked highlighting common mistakes that may be causing you to miss out doing your maximum damage, so make sure you check this out. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.